the other thing that you have to learn how to do, and this is what most graduate students spend most of their time, and postdocs spend most of their time doing, is the actual doing of the experiments, what I call the craftsmanship of how you put the experiment together, how you actually do it, and so forth. And having gone through medical school first, and then I did 3 years of postdocs, and that was just a bare rudimentary scientific education at that point in time. And so at the end of those 3 years of my postdoctoral period, I knew a lot of technical things, but not a huge amount, and I needed to learn more things. By this time, I was up in New Hampshire, where at Dartmouth, what they called the Northeast Kingdom. So we had a lot of trees and wolves off into the woods, and so we didn't have a lot of other things. There weren't a lot of people around me that I could go to learn how to do X, Y, Z. But because I'd been to the NIH, I knew what I could do, and I knew people down there, and I had met a lot of people in the years previously, and so I just would call them up on the phone and say, I'd like to really learn how you do your assay. And they all said fine, and so I'd make an appointment, and I'd go down for a week, and I would look over the shoulders of the people doing the experiments, either the principal investigator themselves or their chief technician and so forth. Because what I found out is that you can, like 10 different labs can do exactly the same technique, but they're not all equal. Some are better than others, and usually the ones that originated the technique are the best. So you go to the experts, and so I did that over the first several years of after setting up my lab at Dartmouth, and I wanted to be able to measure viruses the way that the virologists measured viruses, and I hadn't ever been into those sorts of things. So I visited 3 different laboratories over the course of several months, where and they gave me the right cells to use. They told me, and so I had the whole protocol. And then what I would do is I'd go back to my own lab, and I would just repeat it and do it until I had it to the point where I wanted it, and then I could pass it off to one of the other persons in the labs. And that's critical, because if you don't learn how to do the assay properly, you're never going to be able to do it properly. So you got to go to the experts. So.
That's interesting. So you learn on the job in more ways than one, even with the technical side of things, how to carry out these particular experiments to discover this particular outcome.
Yeah, and what happens is when a student is new in the lab, they focus so much on actually doing the experiment properly and getting a really good result and so forth. Then they get really into it, and their whole focus is on the actual doing the experiment, so that when it comes time to write the paper, they don't want to do that. They're already on to several more experiments that continue on from whatever the other series was all about. And so you almost have to make them leave the lab, write the first draft of the paper, and then you come back, and then you can let them back into the lab again.
So teaching is an integral part of the process of science for its practitioners.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an apprenticeship, really. And I don't see that changing as time goes on. You have to, and it takes time to really learn all the different kinds of things in order to put your thing together. That's what I was going to tell you earlier when I was talking about one of my technicians who was an opera singer.
Right.
And she went on to other labs, and then ultimately became an opera singer and left science. But she recently was interviewed in a magazine, and she basically told them that being a singer is no different than being, say, a scientist, because what you have to do is you have to spend years learning the craft, learning the techniques, learning all the things that go into the whole thing, and then you can apply it, and then you can use it as an artist would use it to make it a little bit your own and make it a little bit different, and that which sets you apart from the other people.